Hello everyone and welcome to Theory Crafting. For this Pokémon Emerald solo run, I've decided to pick Snorunt. Snorunt is a pure ice type that can be only caught much later in the game, so I figured it would be interesting to go through the first sections with it. Anyway, let's explain the rules. No items in battle, only held items are allowed. To make the run actually challenging, I won't be allowed to overlevel past the next gym leader or Elite 4 member. On the other hand, I can benefit from any other mechanic, such as breeding or trading. Also, I can only battle with one Snorunt, but I can choose to pick a different Snorunt depending on the fight. Before starting, just a little disclaimer. All those part of the game that require nothing more than wasting a lot of time, are gonna get skipped through some external tools. But don't worry, I care a lot about the authenticity of these runs. So I'm going to show you how I use them, at least for the important parts. Now, let's talk about Snorunt for a moment. As much as I love ice Pokemon, ice isn't really a good typing, especially with a 300 total base stats. As you can see, Snorunt stats are all even. This means the EV training will probably have a huge impact defining the role of my Snorunts. By level up it learns some good moves, but a lot of them can also be learned through TM, so that's a bit disappointing. The TM available don't offer much besides of Shadow Ball and, maybe, Light Screen. The worst part are for sure the breeding moves, since I can only get Block and Spikes. The latter might be useful, but after the Cacnea solo run, I'm not counting on it. Also, no setup moves available this time. Let's see how it goes. I start the run with my random IV and Nature Generator. I will be forced to use the starting Snorunt at least until I get to Mauville, so I need a good one. After 20 tries, I find one that convinces me, and I name her Cool. Cool has great special attack, a strong physical defense and a bold nature, so less attack and more defense. With hindsight, this probably wasn't the best choice, and you'll see why. So, the first two gyms are obviously going to give some trouble, since I'm weak to both rock and fighting. Brawly worries me the most, so even while EV training for the first gym, I must already plan for that fight. EV training with a low level cap asks for some good experience management, otherwise I would just end up overleveling. Silcoon and Cascoon are really good options to boost my defense, since they give 2 defense EV, so I take down 47 of them. I also take down 15 Ralts from Route 102 to give a little boost to my special attack. Then I add the EXP and the EV I would gain by doing this normally. If you want to check the exact math, it's in the pinned comment along with the timestamps. With that, I'm ready to face Roxanne. First is Geodude, but one Powder Snow is more than enough to take it down. The same goes for the second one. It gives me the needed experience to get to level 16 and learn Icy Wind. It has 55 base power and slows the opponent, so it's for sure a great move to have. Last is Nosepass, and not only ice is not super effective, but it also has an actually decent special defense. There's not much to say about it. I just got lucky. I'm faster, so it will always try to slow me down with Rock Tomb. Until that happens, I want to use Bite for the flinch chance. The first turn it misses Rock Tomb, the second I get the flinch, and then it misses again. The Oran Berry activates, but a lucky crit puts it into potion range as Nosepass finally hits. Roxanne uses her first potion and I actually misclick and use Powder Snow instead of Icy Wind. Now that I'm slower, Nosepass tends to use its other moves. Block does literally nothing as my Icy Wind puts it again in potion range. At this point I'm faster and 3 more Icy Wind take down Nosepass, while Roxanne uses the second potion, and a Rock Tomb brings me down to 11 HP. A lot of mistakes were made in this fight, and I should have played more around the AI, but I won on the first try and some luck was required anyway, so I decide to move on. Before preparing for the second gym, I deliver the letter to Steven and get the EXP share as a reward from Mr. Stone. Now I can split the experience I get while EV training. On my way back to Dewford I look for a Maril. I'll need it as an HM user, so might as well grab it now. I'm not entirely sure it was the Maril, but as I go heal in Dewford I get this message. Again. I play this game since it came out, and never run into the Pokerus. Now, in a couple of months, this happened twice. I know there's something like a 1 in 20,000 chance of getting it, and I really hate this emotionless voice right now. For those who don't know what Pokerus does, it doubles the amount of EV gained. I'm aware that right now, this looks suspiciously beneficial. So to dispel any doubts, I did the EV training for the second gym without using the EXP share I just got. I take down 107 Pokémon and gain 214 attack EV. Then 36 more Ralts give 72 special attack EV. And finally, for Silcoon gives 16 defense EV. The math is in the pinned comment if you want to check. Now let's just face Brawly. First is matchup, and I need 2 Icy Wind to take it down. I needed to use bulk up and not attack me, so I think you can already tell that there's no good plan for this fight. Anyway, here got what I needed so I don't lose any HP. Second is Metatite, and as always I want Brawly to waste his 2 super potions on it. 2 bites do the job just fine, and on the turn it heals I set up 1 double team. I normally see double team as a last resort because every Pokemon can learn it, and it's a completely RNG based strategy, but Snorunt is one of the few Pokemon that learns it early by level up, so I don't mind too much. That said, I'm not going to abuse it, and, for this fight, it's practically useless. Last is Makuhita, and I hated this thing so much. Apparently it always has thick fat, so it halves the damage from my Icy Wind. If it wasn't for this important detail, I would have had a solid plan. But here I am spamming Headbutt with a nature that lowers my attack. Also, Makuhita never ever tries to use Arm Thrust and always goes for Vital Throw, a move that bypasses accuracy checks. So it took a lot of tries, but in the end I had enough luck. A disgusting Headbutt crit and flinch got me the victory, and I am not proud of it. Probably I should have just reset the game to get a different Snorunt, but I didn't want to lose the Pokerus, even if I'm not going to use it. The next obstacle is the Slateport rival. I'm pretty worried about her Combusken since it can hit really hard with double kick. After adding few more EV to my speed and attack, I'm ready for the fight. I outspeed and one-shot Wingull with Headbutt, and second is Combusken. I need 3 hits, and I should be able to tank 2 hits thanks to my Oran Berry. I use Headbutt as it brings me down to almost half health with 1 Ember. I don't want to activate its Blaze, so I use the weaker Icy Wind. It wastes its turn with Focus Energy, so I'm able to easily finish it with 1 last Headbutt. Last is Lombra, but it just lands a really weak Absorb as 2 Headbutts take it down too. I have to say, I ended up using Headbutt way more than expected. Anyway, with that done I can finally reach Mauville and the daycare. Breeding is a crucial part of these runs. It allows me to find Pokemon with the most suitable stats for otherwise impossible fights. Also, having access to the egg moves is usually really useful, but this isn't really the case. Snorunt is compatible with Plusle and Minun, so I can catch a male one and then let them breed. To avoid spending literal days hatching eggs, I made a daycare simulator. As you can see, I write in the values of both parents, and then I can generate eggs until I get what I need. I want a new Snorunt for the fight against Watson, and after 56 rolls I find one that convinces me. I add him to the game and name him Cooler. As you can tell, I was really inspired with the nicknames. If you want to suggest me a challenge, make sure to write down some cool nicknames too. Anyway, at this point of the game I can fully EV train without overleveling, so I'm not going to show that anymore. Before attempting the gym though, I need to get Ice Beam from the game corner. Of course, I'm not going to spend hours at the slots to grind coins. So I give myself a free TM13 and, once I teach it to Cooler, I'm ready for the gym. Watson sends out Voltorb first. It's really fast, so I have no choice but to tank 1 hit. Shockwave doesn't hit too hard, and then Ice Beam always kills. As I level up I learn Protect, a move that will probably be really useful later. Second is Electrike and it's pretty much useless, so I use Icy Wind to make Watson waste a super potion. 1 Ice Beam takes it down, and next is Magneton, for sure the hardest to deal with. It has Thunder Wave and will always use it if I'm faster. So I use Icy Wind as a Shock Wave takes me down to half health, At this point 2 Ice Beam have a good chance to kill. As expected, it goes for Thunder Wave, but I have a Sherry Berry equipped just for that. The second Ice Beam is enough and Magneton goes down. Last is Manectric, but it doesn't see a kill, so it goes for Hull most of the times. One Icy Wind deals good damage without activating its Citrus Berry and slows it down. Then I outspeed and one Ice Beam is enough to win me the fight and earn the third badge. This fight was pretty clean and I'm happy about it. But now I will soon have to fight Flannery. Having Ice Beam is going to make things easier overall, but obviously it's not really good for the Fire Gym. Every Pokemon in Flannery's team know Overheat, a Fire-type move with a base power of 140. A Snorunt with a maxed out special defense can tank one hit from Numel and Slugma, but there's no way I'm able to survive against Camerupt and Torkoal. Also, the best move I have for the fight is Crunch, but it doesn't even one-shots Flannery's weaker Pokemon. At this point of the game the TM for Double Team is available, so even if Snorunt naturally learns it, I don't really feel like resorting to that. I didn't use it in the Cacnea run, and I don't want to use it now. But if I'm not going to use Double Team, I absolutely have to rely on Hidden Power. So it's back to breeding. Finding a Pokemon with specific stats along with the desired Hidden Power can take a really long time. This is no exception, and only after 350 rolls I finally get the Snorunt I need and name her Slow Frost. Slow Frost has a Water-type Hidden Power and great special stats, but these things alone are still not enough. She could one-shot Numel, Camerupt and Slugma, but Torkoal is not even close, and a single Overheat is all it takes to go down. Probably the best thing to do was to hope for an Overheat miss, but I wanted to be more creative than that. Let's just see the fight. Numel is first and one Hidden Power from Slow Frost simply destroys it. Second is Camerupt, but even with its better stats, it just can't take the hit. Third is Slugma. It doesn't see a kill, so it tends to use a different move from Overheat. I don't want to kill it, so I go for Crunch as it sets up a light screen. That's exactly what I needed, but I also got the lowest Crunch range, so Flannery is not going to waste her turn to heal. I decide to use Mimic anyway to copy light screen as Slugma misses Smog. Then I set up my own light screen. This way I will be able to resist one hit from Torkoal. Smog hits and poisons me, but I have a Pecha Berry equipped for this reason exactly. At this point I stall one turn with Protect, and then I take down the Slugma with another Crunch. Torkoal comes out last as the enemy light screen wears off. One Hidden Power takes it down to half health as it goes for Body Slam. Thankfully I don't get paralyzed, and a second Hidden Power is enough to take it down and win me the fight. There was a lot that could go wrong and this is by no means a solid strategy, but at least I still have my integrity. Usually, the battle ahead against Norman scares me, but I have to say that this isn't the case. For once, I have a Pokemon with Protect to deal with Slaking. I want to show you the battle right away, but first I need to breed a new Snorunt. I don't need anything so specific this time, so I find it pretty quickly and name her Tremontaine. Tremontaine has a perfect special attack, a strong defense, and in high speed. She's the Snorunt for the job. Let's go beat my father. First is Spinda, and I use Headbutt for the flinch chance. I also have a Persim Berry equipped in case it uses Teeter Dance, but it goes for Psybeam instead. The next turn, one Ice Beam is enough to take it down. Next is Slaking, but he's the easiest to fight. I just need to use Protect during its attacking turns, and hit it while it's loafing around. While I do that, I have to say that I was really surprised to see Slaking send out second. It normally comes out last, and I wasn't in range for it to kill, so I was rather confused. Probably it's because it has Counter, which, even if doesn't deal damage by itself, is still a fighting type move. Let me know if there's a better explanation. Anyway, eventually Slaking goes down and next is Vigoroth. First I use Icy Wind to slow it down, and then one Ice Beam finishes it off. Last is Linoone, but it gets the same treatment as Vigoroth. First Icy Wind, and then Tremontaine outspeeds and kill with Ice Beam. It was an easy and solid first try, exactly what I needed after that fight against Flannery. Speaking of easy fights, the next gym is probably going to be the most trivial, First I have to beat the Team Aqua at the Weather Institute, but that's always incredibly easy. The rival before for Tree could give some problems, but the rain really helps against her combustion, so even if I forgot to teach back headbutt, Cool is able to win the battle on the first try. Anyway, despite my huge advantage against Winona, I still need a new Snorunt, mostly because I need to have a different EV distribution. I named the newcomer Chillblain, and then I'm ready for the fight. Swablu is first, but a single ice beam from Chillblain takes it down. Second is Skarmory, and since it's part steel I can't one-shot it. A Steel Wing hits hard, but my defense is really high and 30 HP should be enough for the rest of the fight. Tropius is next, but it's 4 times weak to ice, so no problem at all. Pelipper comes out, and the worst thing it can do is using Supersonic. I have a Persim Berry equipped just in case, but it prefers to spam Protect, and then uses Water Gun. Only a crit would have killed me, so no sweat. Another Ice Beam takes it down and last is Altaria. I outspeed it, so it doesn't really matter how low I am. One last Ice Beam is easily able to earn me the 6th badge. To be honest, all I did was pressing the A button on Ice Beam. Anyway, now it's time for the tedious part of the game, where I have to beat both Team Aqua and Magma. There's nothing interesting about it, not even the fight against Maxie 2. As you can see, Slow Frost is able to handle the fight just fine, so there's really nothing to discuss. But now, as always, I have to prepare for one of the hardest fight of the game. Tate and Liza force the player in a double battle, so either I use 2 Snorunts, or I bring with me something like a Magikarp just to fill in. Here's the way I think. If it's reasonably possible, I try to take on Tate and Liza with only one Pokémon. But if there's no way of doing that, I'm totally fine with bringing 2 of them. Snorunt has access to super effective moves to deal with every member of Tate and Liza's team, but its stats doesn't allow it to win this battle alone. It could take down Xatu and Claydol, but then there's absolutely no way of surviving against Lunatone and Solrock. Even with 2 Snorunt, the fight is not a walk in the park and required a lot of planning, but in the end I came up with something satisfying. I'm not gonna bother you with the breeding part, so let's just jump into the fight. Xatu and Claydol are first. As you can see, Ice is not full HP. With 79 HP I'm sure Xatu will always try to use Psychic on it, so I go for Protect. Meanwhile, Cream can use Icy Wind to slow them down. It has to tank 1 Earthquake. And I actually made sure to be always brought under half HP to activate his Citrus Berry. Now I can tank another Earthquake while still being out of Psychic range from Claydol. Second turn, I use Ice Beam with Ice to take down Xatu. Cream also targets Xatu with Bite, but it's slower than Ice, so it will hit the upcoming Pokémon. As Xatu goes down, Ice levels up, but Cream still doesn't. Solrock comes out and has to tank the Bite. It never deals more than 50% of its HP, so its Citrus Berry cannot activate. Another Earthquake from Claydol leaves Ice Cream with really low HP, but I should be fine. The next turn, Ice takes down Claydol with 1 Ice Beam, giving Cream the needed experience to level up. Lunatone comes out, and now 1 Crunch from Cream is enough to take down Solrock. At this point all is left to do is to spam Crunch on Lunatone. Ice goes down in the process, but then Cream is able to land the final blow and win the fight. This was pretty intense. Once again, before advancing I have to deal with both Team Aqua and Magma. There's really nothing difficult here. In the double battle against Maxie and his admin, I bring Slow Frost to deal with Camerupt, and Crobat is weak to ice, so it's not really a problem. Maybe Archie could have been more problematic with its Sharpedo, but Ice is able to take it down in 2 hits. I had some good luck, but I don't think it was necessary. Anyway, it was a first try victory, so I am happy with it. After doing all the Rayquaza stuff, I can directly face the last gym leader. And this is where I started to be seriously worried about this run. At this point of the game, with my low stats and no way to boost them, unless I have a type advantage, some fights are borderline impossible. Most of Juan's team resist my strong ice moves, so I'm stuck with weaker moves that don't even benefit from stab. Snorunt is not even tanky, and therefore is not suited for longer fights. So we have a problem. Usually I remind this just before the Elite Four, but in this case is more appropriate to do it now. Trading is allowed by my rules, mainly because it lets me teach again a TM or a tutor move. I just need to trade back and forth my Snorunt. In this case, I'm also trading in a Roselia who knows spikes. I didn't know this, but apparently Roselia is only available in Ruby and Sapphire. Spike can be learned by Snorunt through breeding, and it's going to be one of the stars of the fight. Once I've found the Snorunt I need, I name it Cacnea and teach it Mimic. Also, in the roof of the department store in Lily Cove, there's the tutor for Substitute. We are gonna need it too. But we are not done yet. I also have to teach Return and make sure that when I go into the fight against one my friendship value is 240. Everything will make sense, I promise. So let's see the fight. First is Lovedisk, and first of all I want to set up one substitute. It goes for Sweet Kiss, which is perfect. I just needed to use it once more. I hit a strong return and put Lovedisk in potion range as it lands a water pulse. My special defense is decent, so it can't break my substitute. I use spikes as one uses in Hyper Potion. 3 layers of spikes will damage the switching Pokémon for 25% of its total HP, so I need 2 more. Another return brings Lovedisk right above 20% HP as it tries again to use Sweet Kiss. This couldn't be better. The next turn I use Spike again, and Lovedisk starts using Flail. Thanks to my really low defense, Lovedisk is going to use that most of the times instead of Water Pulse. But Flail isn't strong enough to destroy my substitute, so the turn after I can safely use Mimic to copy it. Now all I need is one more Spike, but I'm guaranteed to succeed unless I get crit. Lovedisk destroys my substitute, but this just means that I can use it again to bring me down to 1 HP. And now, sweep time. Another return puts Lovedisk out of its misery, and next is Whiskash. Thanks to the spike damage, a single flail is enough to take it down. It's not even a range. Third is Celio, and it's a bit tankier, but I have a Silk Scarf equipped just to guarantee the kill on it too. Crawdaunt is just as easy, and last is Kingdra. Thanks to my IV in nature, Cacnea outspeeds, but one flail wouldn't be enough and I'm running low on PP. So I have to use Return first as Kingdra breaks my substitute. And then one last flail takes it down, earning me the last badge. I really had to think out of the box here and I'm happy with the result, but as I said before I'm starting to be worried. If one was this bad, I don't know what to do against Wallace. But one problem at a time, before the league there's one last important fight. I don't want to underestimate Wally, so I breed a new Snorunt just for him and name him Winter. The fight should not be too bad. First is Altaria, but one Ice Beam takes it down immediately. Second is Delcatty, and since it loves using Sing I go for Safeguard right away, but it uses Feint Attack instead. The next turn I set up Hail as Delcatty uses Assist. Future Sight is not the best, but it's still fine. Thanks to the hail damage, Ice Beam is now guaranteed to kill, and next is Magneton. The hail makes sure that Ice Beam 2-shots it, and all it does is missing a Screech, so it's perfect. Roselia doesn't stand a chance for obvious reasons, and last is Gardevoir. I might be mistaken, but I think this Gardevoir always uses Future Sight on the first turn, even if it could kill me with Psychic. Anyway, 2 crunches are enough to take it down and win the battle. Now that Wally got the attention he was seeking, it's time for me to face the league. I already reminded you about the trading stuff, so don't be surprised if you see multiple Pokémon with Substitute. I'm not happy about it, but I feel like I'm gonna need it more than usual. As always, I trained 5 new Snorunt, 1 for each member of the league. The strategies you are gonna see were tested 10 times before this official attempt, and based on the results you will see a reliability score for each one of them. There's nothing else to say, so let's start. First is Sydney, the Dark-type specialist. It sends out Mighty Yena first, and since it loves to spam Sand Attack on the first turn, I pretty much have to use Substitute to avoid accuracy drops. This is no exception, and now I just have to use Ice Beam. I put it into full restore range as it tries to use Sand Attack again. I'm happy to keep my substitute, but it's not really needed. 2 more hits are enough to take it down and Absol comes out. Substitute or not, Absol cannot kill with Rock Slide, so it always goes for Swords Dance. Black Ice outspeeds and 2 Ice Beams are enough to take it down even after the Citrus Berry. Shiftry is next, but I'm faster and Ice Beam is super effective, so no problem at all. The same goes for Cacturne, and Crawdaunt is last. The best way of dealing with it is having either a Grass or Electric hidden power, and that's why it took so many rolls to find Black Ice. Anyway, Crawdaunt goes down in 2 hits, winning me the first fight. Worst thing can happen, Mighty Yena uses Double Edge and breaks the substitute on the first turn, but in that case 1 Blizzard along with the recoil damage should be enough to take it down. I want to stay true to my results, so the reliability score is a 10 out of 10. Black Ice got the full score, so its evolution is well deserved. Next is Phoebe, and for once this is not the easiest fight of the league. She leads with her level 48 Dusclops. The worst thing it can do is using Curse, so I set up a substitute right away as it uses Protect. I want to use Spikes 3 times, and luckily Protect doesn't block it. Once I set up 3 layers of spikes, I need to mimic Curse, but for some reason Dusclops kept using Confuse Ray, so I had to waste some turns. Eventually it uses it and I can copy it. Sadly, I can't just set up 5 of them because it would make me far too slow. I use Curse just once, and then my White Herb restores my speed. Here I got really lucky and Dusclops never broke my first substitute, but if it breaks 2 of them I pretty much can't win this battle. Anyway, 2 Shadow Ball takes it down and the other Dusclops is next. After the spikes damage, 1 Shadow Ball brings it down to red health as it hits me with Rock Slide. The Citrus Berry brings it out of full restore range, and another Shadow Ball is enough to kill it. The first Banette comes out next, but 1 Shadow Ball deals just enough damage and one-shots it. Then Sableye comes out. To be honest, Sableye is one of the main problems since it takes 2 Shadow Ball to go down, and even when it doesn't attack, it uses Double Team, making this strategy even more shaky. This time I have plenty of HP left, so even if it uses Double Team I'm not too worried. Last is Banette, but it goes exactly like the first one. I already explained what can go wrong here, and the reliability score is a 7 out of 10. Frostless can now evolve, but it's not Gen 4 so she's forced to become a Glalie. Speaking of Glalie, Glacia is not going to be easy. In fact, I had few different strategies in mind, but due to Snorunt bad stats and limited moveset, I was forced to choose this one. Her level 50 Celio is first, and you can already see where this is going just by looking at my moves. I go for Toxic on the first turn. Even if I'm Ice type, Celio always uses Hail on the first turn. The next turn I go for Substitute, and thanks to my good defense 1 Body Slam doesn't break it. Leftovers are going to keep me healthy while I stall, more so considered that I'm also going to use Protect. Anyway, I want to save my other PP, so I waste a couple of turns using Toxic again. I want Glacia to use a full restore on this Celio. And on the turn she does, I poison it again immediately. Now, instead of wasting PP, I can occasionally use Headbutt. Getting the flinch would be nice, but it's not needed. The important thing is to have a substitute up when Walrein comes out. I poison it right away as it breaks my substitute, and now I have to stall it for 5 more turns. I just alternate between Protect and Substitute to mitigate the damage as much as possible. When it finally goes down, I still have 90 HP. Next is the level 50 Glalie, and since I'm faster it tends to use Icy Wind a lot to slow me down. The speed drop can't affect me if I have a substitute, and then I can use Toxic on it. At this point, it's just more stalling, until it's time to use Headbutt. This way, Glacia doesn't get the chance of using a full restore. Glalie broke the substitute on the last turn, but I should be fine. The second Celio is next, and here I realized I messed up. I use Toxic as it sets up Hail, and then I start stalling. I didn't realize that Celsius is male, and this Celio has Attract. Unlike most of the things, Attract can actually hit through a substitute, so what should have been an easy stall has now become a really dangerous situation. To make things even worse, I use Headbutt for no reason, and now Glacia is going to heal. I go for Toxic and thankfully I'm able to attack, so there's still hope. I know it's going to use Hail again, so I set up my substitute. Once again, I don't get immobilized. Since I need to hit it once anyway, the next turn I go for Headbutt hoping for a flinch. I'm able to attack again, but a double edge breaks my substitute. Infatuation finally prevents me from attacking and I get hit. But the next turn I'm able to use Protect as Celio goes down. 76 HP for the last Glalie should be enough, but for some reason I try to use Protect again and fail. A well-deserved Shadow Ball hits Celsius, but it doesn't deal too much damage. The hail stops, so I take advantage of it and use Toxic as Glalie sets it up again. Glalie is faster, but the stalling works pretty much the same way. First I use Protect and then, after getting hit again by Shadow Ball, I set up a substitute. At this point another Protect and then Headbutt are all I need to take down Glalie and finally end this torture. There's no need to say that I got really lucky and made some huge mistakes here, but I won on the first try. I tested this strategy with a female Snorunt and got a reliability score of 8 out of 10. With a male one, the odds are probably much lower. Anyway, somehow Celsius did it, and after beating all those Glalie, it's time for him to become one. Next is Drake, and this is where Snorunt should shine the most. If only Drake didn't have a Kingdra, this would be easily a 10 out of 10. Let's see how it goes. First is Shelgon, and, as you can see, Breeze has substitute as well. The optimal play would be to use it on the first turn since Shelgon almost always uses Protect. But out of principle, I'm not going to. Thanks to my high speed, I'm able to sweep Drake's team with Ice Beam. Kingdra comes out last, and it almost always uses Dragon Dance. I anticipate it and use Icy Wind to keep it slower than me. One Ice Beam deals a good amount of damage without putting it in full restore range as Kingdra sets up a second Dragon Dance. Now it's faster. But a Body Slam is still not enough to kill me, and I have a Sherry Berry equipped in case I get paralyzed. It goes for Smokescreen, but I'm able to hit through it and win the battle. Depending on how Kingdra behaves, there are cases in which I lose. The reliability score without substitute is a 8 out of 10, and Breeze is allowed to evolve. Now it's time for the last fight of the run against the champion Wallace. I tried everything against it, but not even getting the most lucky freezes is enough to win this battle. Believe that I hate saying this. Just for the final battle, I had to use Double Team. If anyone else comes up with a better strategy, please tell me, because no matter how hard I tried I couldn't find it. But even with Double Team, there's a bit of thought put into this to increase my odds as much as possible. So, champion time. First is Whale Lord, and it often goes for Rain Dance on the first turn, so I set up one Double Team. The plan is to spam substitute and set up more Double Teams on the turn it misses. Luckily here it misses the first Water Spout, so I'm able to increase my evasion quite a bit from the start. The next time it misses, I poison with Toxic, and then I keep using substitute and Double Team whenever I get the chance. As Whale Lord gets low enough, Wallace uses a full restore, and at this point I have all my 6 Double Teams set up. I poison Whale Lord again, and then I start spamming Headbutt until it goes down. The flinch chance helps a lot with stalling. It's even more important against Tentacruel since I can't poison it. Due to the rain, it tries to hit me with the already unreliable Hydro Pump, but it doesn't even manage to break my substitute and goes down in 5 hits. Next is Ludicolo, and I Toxic stall it. I use Headbutt on the last turn to prevent Wallace from using a full restore, and now Whiscash comes out. It's another Toxic stall, so nothing to see here. Gyarados comes out, and I miss Toxic right away. The second turn I'm able to hit, and then I spam substitute in the eventuality it hits me. It actually manages to hit me twice, so when Milotic comes out I have to set it up again to avoid getting poisoned. Losing due to Toxic against the last Pokemon would be ironic, but not really pleasant. The Toxic stall against Milotic is a bit different because at one point it starts to use Recover over and over. It also has a Citrus Berry, so I have to consider it. Anyway, once the poison starts to deal over half of its HP, I can use Headbutt. The turn it flinches, it won't be able to recover, and will go down to poison damage. I don't have to wait and get the flinch on the first try, winning the battle and finally ending this run. There's no need to tell that this is unreliable. The reliability score is a really poor 4 out of 10, and since Shame had the most thankless job, at least I let her become a Glalie. I have to say, this was probably one of the hardest run I did, even worse than the Surskit one for certain aspects. I put a lot of work into these, so I hope you enjoyed watching. I'm planning to do something different for the next run, so stay tuned. But for now, back to theory crafting.